All right, we're going to jump into a really fascinating thought experiment, one inspired by the amazing work of science writer Alan Weisman. We're going to take a look at our planet, but with one huge change. What if we, all of us, were just gone?
Yeah, just think about that for a second. 1 minute, nearly 8 billion of us are going about our day, and the next, poof, nothing. Just silence. We're not talking about some big disaster or apocalypse here. We just vanished. So the big question is, what happens next? What happens to everything we built? And, what happens to the planet itself?
And look, the point here isn't to be all doom and gloom. Not at all. It's actually a pretty cool way to see things clearly. By taking ourselves out of the equation, we get this completely unfiltered look at the impact we have. It's like holding up a mirror to our world, and it shows us two incredible things: the sheer scale of the systems we've created, and, maybe more importantly, just how powerful nature is when it comes to healing.
Okay, so let's start the clock. The Great Disappearance has happened. We're gone. What's the very first thing to change?
It's easy to look at our huge cities, all that steel and concrete, and think they're permanent, right? Indestructible. But the thing is, they're not. They're in a constant 24/7 battle with nature. And the only reason our world stays standing is because of a small army of people working around the clock, day in and day out, just to keep it all from crumbling.
So, what happens when that army of maintenance crews suddenly isn't there? Well, the collapse starts almost instantly. And one of the very first and most dramatic places we'd see it is deep, deep underground.
Check out this number: 13 million. That is a staggering amount of water, right? And that's how many gallons have to be pumped out of the New York City subway system. Not a week, not a month, every single day. A lot of people don't realize that Manhattan was basically this hilly, marshy island covered in streams. And guess what? That water never left. It's still down there, always pushing, always trying to get back to where it used to flow.
So, the moment we're gone, the power grid starts to fail. And no power means those pumps stop working. It's that simple. And it would take less than 48 hours for the entire subway system to be completely flooded. It would basically turn back into a network of underground rivers. And believe me, that's just the beginning.
From there, things start to fall apart really, really fast. It just snowballs. I mean, look at this timeline. After just 7 days, the cooling systems at nuclear reactors would fail. Think about that. Within a single year, the simple act of water freezing and thawing would shatter our roads and pavements. 5 years in, a stray lightning strike hitting all that dead wood could start a fire that burns an entire city to the ground. And in just 20 years, the steel columns holding up major city streets would rust through and collapse, turning back into the rivers they were built over.
But here's the amazing part. Out of all that decay, something new starts to happen. As our world crumbles, a new one begins to grow. Every building that falls opens up a little patch of sunlight. Seeds, just blowing in the wind, find a home in the cracks in the pavement. And slowly, but absolutely surely, the forest starts to reclaim the concrete jungle.
So this is a huge turning point in our story, right? We're shifting from the collapse of our world to the rebirth of the natural one. As our stuff fails, nature's systems, well, they come roaring back.
And to really get what's happening, we need to talk about a key idea called ecological resilience. Now, this doesn't just mean bouncing back to the way things were before. It's way more interesting than that. It's about how much of a beating an ecosystem can take, how it can reorganize itself and still keep on working, even if it ends up as something totally new.
I love this comparison because it makes it so clear. Think about engineering resilience. That's how we design things. It's like a ball in a perfectly round bowl. If it gets pushed, it always rolls back to the exact same spot in the middle. But ecological resilience, that's different. It's more like a landscape that has a bunch of different bowls or valleys. If the ball gets knocked out of one, it doesn't break. It just rolls and settles into a new spot, a different but still stable state.
And this isn't just a theory. We have real-world examples. Just look at the Korean DMZ. It's one of the most fortified, dangerous borders on the planet. And yet, it's also become this incredible, accidental wildlife preserve. Why? Simply because for over 70 years, people have mostly stayed out. And in that time, nature has come rushing back in. Endangered species are thriving there. It's a perfect, powerful example of what happens when we just step aside.
So in this post-human world, there are going to be some definite winners. I mean, some species would be having the time of their lives. For starters, about 1 billion birds a year would be saved from flying into our buildings and power lines. That's huge. You'd see oaks and maples marching right back into city centers. And
Maybe not so great for anyone who was left. Mosquitoes. Their populations would just explode as wetlands come back. Oh, and feral cats? Yeah, they'd be just fine.
But of course, for every winner, there's a loser. And a lot of species are so tied to us, they'd be in real trouble. Domesticated cattle, they'd be easy prey for predators like wolves and mountain lions. City rats and cockroaches, who basically live on our garbage, would lose their all-you-can-eat buffet. And kind of a funny one to think about. Head lice. They are so specifically adapted to humans that with us gone, they would go completely extinct. No more host, no more lice.
But resilience isn't infinite. There's a limit. Sometimes an ecosystem gets pushed so hard for so long that it doesn't just shift to a new state, it breaks. It crosses a line. And that's what we call an ecological threshold.
You can think of it as a tipping point. An ecosystem can handle a lot of stress. It bends, it adapts, it reorganizes. But then you add just one more tiny thing, one last straw, and bam! You get a super rapid, often irreversible shift. It's the point of no return.
And there is no more powerful or terrifying example of this than Chernobyl. The red forest there was blasted with so much radiation, it was pushed way beyond any normal threshold. It can never go back to what it was. And yet, here's the paradox. Because people are gone, it's become this bizarre, unique wildlife sanctuary. It's absolutely teeming with animals, including endangered ones, who've made this radioactive wasteland their home. It's just a haunting reminder that life somehow finds a way, even in a place we completely broke.
Okay, so nature comes back. It adapts. It finds new ways to thrive. So you might be thinking, would every trace of us eventually just get erased? Not even close. Some of our legacy, our echo, would last for an almost unimaginable amount of time.
Just look at these timescales. It's mind-boggling. Our big suspension bridges, they'd be gone in a few hundred years. But the lead pollution from our cars, that takes about 35,000 years to fully dissipate. And the extra CO2 we've pumped into the atmosphere, it would take 100,000 years for that to get back to pre-industrial levels. And then you get to the truly permanent stuff. Our radio and TV signals are already out there, traveling through space. They will continue on that journey for trillions of years, a faint, ghostly broadcast from a world that's long gone.
And then there's this. After 10 million years, our cities, our roads, our dams, all of it will have turned to dust and sediment. But our bronze statues, they could still be there, recognizable. Just think about that. It's this really strange and kind of beautiful idea that the most lasting thing we leave behind might just be our art.
And really, this gets to the heart of what Alan Wiseman was asking. It's one thing to look at all the environmental damage and think, yeah, maybe the planet would be better off without us, but then you have to think about everything else we've created. Our music, our literature, our art, all of our expression. Wouldn't the universe be missing something? Wouldn't it be a little sadder if all of that was just gone?
Because ultimately, this whole thought experiment, it isn't really about imagining a world without people. It's about better understanding the world with people, with us. Seeing what the world would be like in our absence is the best way to see our true impact in our presence. So it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? What kind of legacy are we creating right now? What story do we want to leave behind?